Welcome to the Simply Real Life podcast. I'm Sarah, the founder of Simply Real Health, here to help you simplify, amplify, and elevate your life. This show is for those of you who want the real talk on how to live a more intuitive and intentional life, a life that's healthy from the inside out, and one that feels more effortless, aligned, simple, and more alive. We cover it all, from health, wellness, mindset, motherhood, daily habits and rituals, to business and relationships, creativity and growth, and tiny tricks to feeling your best, and the energetics behind it all filled with personal stories, unfiltered conversations, and of course, answering all of your burning questions, all in the way of simplicity and keeping it real, so that you can create your own version of your healthiest life. Let's do it. Hi, you guys. Welcome back to the show. I am so excited to be sitting here and recording today. I can't even tell you. After the last 5 months being in bed, there is truly nothing that feels better than getting to do just normal, everyday life things. And especially so when it comes to this podcast, I feel like it's been a while since I've been able to record. And it's one of those marking points for me of like, okay, things are slowly starting to get better. I'm slowly starting to come back alive and it feels so good. There's nothing like feeling bad for so long, especially when you're used to feeling really good for the most part. That just makes you so extra thankful for everything, for your health, for these tiny little things in the day that maybe you didn't really notice before or took for granted. And I am just in this phase right now of like, everything is such a blessing. Everything is amazing. When I do get the burst of energy or feeling good right now, that it just feels so good. I'm just so reminded how much I love doing this work and how much I love all of you and how much I love doing this show, which is wild because we're kind of coming up on 1 year since the podcast has started. That blows my mind. I don't know about any of you, but wow, that is an amazing thing. And I have just loved this process so much of being able to talk about things in a little bit of a deeper way and give you a little bit more context or more juicy examples or different types of stories that I think can relate to so many of us, even though we might be in different stages of life or in different seasons that we're going through. There's so many things that connect us together. And that's why I love answering these questions every week and in every episode, because there's always some sort of a theme that's coming through from the questions that I get from you all every week. And I'm like, okay, that is what we are meant to be talking about. So today I've got a fun one for you. Today we're going to talk about how to get healthier in a week. You know, I am all about the practical and all about the simple. And let's take some of these concepts that I'm always talking about, real food and keeping things simple. Let's actually apply this in the context of 1 week, right? Would it be possible to go through a week? And I'm talking just the weekdays, not including the weekends, but how to get and feel healthier in a week's time. Now, if you started this episode thinking that this is going to be some type of quick fix, hi, have we met before? Quick fixes are like, I'm allergic to them. For so long in my life, I followed so many of them because I was just so desperate to see change and to feel better and to want to lose a little bit of weight. And it was always this constant striving for what felt like was the impossible task of getting to a place where I felt really good in my body and really healthy and had tons of energy and my digestion was good and my sleep was good. I think there's so many things, especially quick fix wise, that like, yes, they may work for a short amount of time, but the way that it changes your brain chemistry is to teach you that you have to be perfect in order to get or see any type of results. And I just flat out don't believe that that is true. I actually think it's really damaging to go through your life and be thinking that the only way that you can feel great or look great or feel good in your body and feel really healthy and energized is by doing something that's more extreme or has all of these rules, or that there's a right and a wrong way to do it. And it's all about this all or nothing mentality. That mentality really screws us up from getting to a place where being healthy feels more like a lifestyle that is simple and easy, and it feels a little bit more effortless. And to me, that's always the goal, because once I was able to get there, you all probably know my story, but just for so long, I struggled with having a really terrible relationship to food and to myself, where my worth was dependent on how I looked or how good I was being at being healthy and working out for an hour every day. And it was these unrealistic expectations that, unless you are committing your life to living that way, which some people do and that works for them, I just find for most people that we have this constant pull that we're in of wanting to be healthy, yes, and to feel better and to have all the energy and to have better moods and to feel more steady and stable. But also, we want to live our life. Also, we want to be able to go on vacation and have ice cream with our kids and go out to a girls' night and have a glass of wine if that feels good to you. As humans, we don't do well with being so boxed in all the time. And so with quick fixes, which may have enticed you with this title of the episode, like How to Get Healthier in 1 Week, this is not about a quick fix. So maybe this is the opposite of a quick fix in the context of a week. What can we do? Because I am just not a believer in things that are quick fix to the point where it keeps encouraging your brain that all or nothing is the only way to be, because we can't live in an all or nothing way and do it in a healthy, balanced way. Like, it's not possible. The two are kind of at odds with each other. So let's say it's a Sunday night and you are getting ready for the week. How to be healthier so that you end the week healthier than when you started. Here's one thing I want to impart so deeply on you, and I feel like this one thing alone can actually change so much, that when you become aware of probably all of our tendencies to be in that all or nothing mentality, to be like, okay, this week I'm going to meal prep for every single meal that I have. And I'm not going to eat grains this week or dairy this week. Or I'm not going to have any sugar. I'm not going to have any alcohol. It's like these rules that we create for ourselves that we think that's the only way to get results, to feel better, to look better, to sleep better, whatever your motivating factor may be. That when we start thinking like that, we're not taking into context like real life scenarios and things that come up that we maybe can't predict. Like maybe we don't feel like the thing that we meal prep that one day, or, maybe we didn't take into account something, or something happens outside of our control that week. And I think when that happens, because it will, there's always stuff unexpected. I think especially if you're a mom or if you're a parent, there's just so many things that could go differently than what we're originally planning. It's about learning how to go through your week being healthy, but also being a little bit flexible. And here's the one thing I want to tell you that can help shift you out of that perfectionist, all or nothing thinking that will not carry you very far. And that's this. Instead of thinking about the big, massive things, or the things that you're going to do and commit to, and it's going to be full out and it's going to be perfect, instead of focusing on those big things, the hour-long workout every single day, or having a very strict way that you're eating for that week, I want you to start to think about, what are the little things that I could do every single day in the concept of a week? And I'm not talking about a lot of things. I'm talking about maybe 1 or 2 or 3 things that realistically you could commit to and find the pockets of time for. These are the things that are life-giving activities that that any amount of time that you spend doing that thing, whether it's prepping a healthy meal or 2 for the week, or buying groceries so that you have ingredients for smoothies for the week, or it's making some type of make-ahead meal or a snack, or it's figuring out the time in your schedule that you could do a 15-minute way of moving your body. Thinking about what the big rocks are for you in your life that when you spend any time doing those things, and they generally happen in these categories of food and how you're eating and feeding and nourishing yourself, any time spent moving your body, any time spent on your mental and emotional health. things that help relax your nervous system, things that help recalibrate you, things that help you find more peace amongst the chaos of the day. So we're thinking about our health in these three categories: physical, mental, and emotional, and starting to think through, okay, in each of those categories, what are the things that are realistic? They don't have to take tons of time, but they do make an impact. They either change how I feel physically or energetically. They change how you feel. So instead of having this idea in your head that a workout, for example, needs to be 30 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour for it to count, while that might be your ideal, and if you had all the time in the day and nothing ever went sideways in your life, that's great. Like, go for it. And if you can plan that into your schedule and you make it a priority, I think that's amazing. But I'm talking about the days where something maybe does go sideways or not as you planned, that you don't just completely scrap the workout, but you say, what can I do to move my body today? That even if it may not be my ideal amount of time, I know that even 5 minutes spent connecting to my body, breathing. Sometimes Kyle and I joke that, like, even if you're doing 10 minutes of some sort of movement and you're drinking water, the drinking water counts as something good, and you're going to feel better after you do that. So starting to disconnect from the amount of time that you're doing something in order for it to count. It doesn't have to be about time. It has to be about the intention, and it has to be something that shifts your body physically, mentally, or emotionally in some way. And there are so many things that you can do in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, even 15. So I'm talking to all you like busy moms out there that it feels like you maybe don't have the time. I would encourage you to think about, what am I spending time on right now that is energy draining for me, or is very exhausting and is not life-giving? And could I swap one of those things out? Maybe that means saying no. Maybe that means having better boundaries for yourself so that you're protecting the space of your health. We have to be protectors of our health physically, mentally, and emotionally in order to create these little pockets of time. It's not something that happens naturally. It's not something that we go through our day doing. You have to sit down and be intentional about, what are the ways that I want to take care of myself, and how does that look for me right now in this stage of life that I'm in? For some of you, you may find yourselves with a lot of time and space to take care of your health, and that's amazing. But I'm talking about when things don't go as planned, when plans change. We don't get into this all or nothing mentality of like, oh, screw it all, or I already messed up, or I already missed a day. That mentality will just continue to spiral and lead you down this path where then it feels like it's so hard to come back. It takes so much effort and so much physicality even to get ourselves to do that. But when you're doing tiny things every day, you're in this energy. There's this momentum that comes with it of, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm going to show up for myself. I'm going to take care of myself. And I think that's a really important piece to talk about, is, do you think that you are worthy of doing that? So this also requires looking at all the things that you are doing in the day and maybe taking an inventory. Is it, for the most part, stuff that is making you better, making you happier, making you healthier? Or are there a lot of things or commitments or stuff in your day, in your calendar, that are not feeling aligned to you, or even having the opposite effect? I think this requires dedication and this thought that you are worth taking care of. And I think that part probably has to come first in order to get yourself to the place of wanting to show up. So why I'm saying in 1 week is that 5 days is enough time to practice going through the natural resistance that's going to come up in your brain about why you don't have time, or why that 10 minutes doesn't count, or why this meal doesn't count because I got it out somewhere as opposed to making something completely from scratch. Or maybe it's a meal that you're using ingredients that are already pre-made for half of it. One of my favorite things is getting a organic roasted chicken at the store. Why is that a bad thing? It's not. That still counts as a great healthy dinner. Just noticing and catching the places where you start telling yourself that it doesn't count because it's not enough, or it's not perfect, or it's not how maybe you would ideally want things to go. But starting to settle into a place of, any time that I do spend on life-giving things is going to be worth it, because you get in this momentum and the energetics of it that it's so much easier to stay in something and to do small things daily than it is to let yourself fall off and then try to climb your way back on to feeling good. And then your blood sugar is all over the place. You have all these cravings. Things feel so chaotic, versus having this standard for yourself of just a little bit every day. And you may not get to 3 things every day. It may just be 1 thing every day, but that you are in the practice of constantly showing up for yourself and keeping commitments that you make to yourself, especially as it relates to your health. Our brains need to learn that they can rely on us to show up. So every time we tell ourselves, oh, I don't have the time, or it's not going to be perfect, or it's not how I'd want it to be, and we let that stop us, all that does is reinforces this idea that we're not dependable, that we can't count on ourselves, like really building that relationship to yourself where you know you can count on yourself to take care of yourself. And I know for so many of you who do have families and kids and even coworkers and people around you that see you, the more people that we have modeling that type of behavior, the easier for other people to also do the same. Like imagine you're a kid growing up with a parent who takes these small pockets of time that they have and is doing something that's good for them. Think of how that would imprint in your brain as a child, that you see a parent doing things that take care of their own health, like eating well and drinking water, going on a walk, having some sort of movement or exercise in their day. It does not have to be these big extreme things. And in fact, that's my argument here, is that when you make it more about tiny things that you can do more consistently, that is the thing that actually changes not only your brain pathways, but also changes that all or nothing mentality. It gives you more flexibility, but it also changes your body the most. Small things over time means you never are working your way back from zero. And that is such a struggle that so many people kind of give up and they stop doing it because it takes so much effort and time. But when you can get to a place where it is about small and steady and consistent things, your brain changes, which means therefore your body changes, which also means your emotions start to change because your nervous system is more relaxed on a constant basis versus going through these massive swings of really stressed out and then really relaxed. It makes it hard to ever feel centered and grounded. And so if you have 1 week's time thinking about small and daily and consistent and ways that you can show up for yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, does not need to take a lot of time for it to have an impact, because we're talking about this over time. And when you're in that mentality of like, I want my health to be something where I have a healthy lifestyle, like that's just the way that I live, this is a huge component of it. Everything in our world is so based around the all or nothing mentality, the quick fixes and the flashy transformations. And here's this sexy thing that you can do and you go hard and maybe it works, but maybe it doesn't because it doesn't fit into your real life and when things don't go as planned. But it doesn't teach your brain how to live in your real daily life with the things that come up and that you navigate every single day. If your brain is not used to navigating your own life and figuring out how to make it work and show up for yourself and get those things in that do lift you up and make you feel better, it's going to be a really hard road. And it's going to feel like you're always going through these spurts of doing really well with your health and then not at all. And then, hey, time to get back on. And it's so motivated by external factors versus this is just the way that you live. And it's living with the mentality of like, I'm going to do what I can with the time and resources and things I have available to me, and knowing and trusting that it's all going to add up, because by doing that, becoming the type of person who shows up for themselves and takes care of their health. In these small daily actions, they add up in that they change who you are being, how you're actually showing up in your day consistently over time. And when you change who you're being, you're actually taking the actions of when you think through, what would the healthiest version of myself do? That's often what leads you to that place of being able to get there, is like these tiny, small things that you can do every day. That's what adds up by committing to these smaller things, not being worried about the extremes, but just thinking about being peaceful and grounded and consistent. You change who you're being. And when you change that, your mentality changes, your physical body changes. Like, it's wild, you guys, how much this stuff is connected. Your energy changes. I mean, you start to see yourself in a much different way. So with this idea, I think it's really fun to try it. Like, why not? So coming up actually this month, we're going to be doing fun challenge where we do this together for a week, because there is something that's so motivating, I think, about trying this on. And take it for a test run yourself and see what happens if you start doing this for a week. Starting on April 15th, if you're listening to this right when the show comes out, we're going to be doing a 5-day challenge that is all about this, about something small. Every day you'll get an email that has an idea for you, something small that you can do that day, and then see how you feel after, so that you can start collecting what are these little activities and ways that I could spend my time, even when life is super busy, that I can show up for myself, that I can start prioritizing my health, that I can start being a little bit more intentional with how I'm spending my time and what I'm doing in those little pockets of the day. And how do I even carve out those pockets of the day? What are those for me? So we're going to do it as a community because it's really fun and it's really motivating. And there's the option, if you want, I have like a little bonus activity every single day if you're wanting to try something out. But every day it's going to be the same 3 assignments, something for your physical health, something for your mental health, something for your emotional health. And we have checklists that you can check off every single day, and we have prizes throughout it. I just want you all to experience this, because for me, something that has truly changed my life is working on the mentality piece. How you're thinking actually changes who you're being and how you show up in your day and in your life. And that changes how you feel. And doing it in this way, it's so much more consistent and steady. It's such a better long-term mentality to have versus always falling prey to these diets and quick fixes and these tactics and the all or nothing talk. I really want to show you how this can work and how this can feel, and doing it in the energy of the group is just so much fun. So I'll leave the link below in the show notes here. But our 5-day challenge, we do it every spring, and it's just such a great way, I think, to reset your mind for this next season ahead of spring and then going into summer, just getting yourself into a really good groove, coming out of winter and kind of shedding the cobwebs and thinking, how do I want to be showing up and what are different options? I do have these 10 minutes, like what should I do with that time? So that's the whole point. It's entirely free. And I'll put the link below if you guys want to join this. We're going to be practicing this together. And if you've ever done this with us before, you know that by the end of that week, you are feeling really great, but you haven't done anything extreme. It's been nothing too intense. I have had moms that have 4 and 5, sometimes 6 kids, or they're working full time. They can do this too. And that's entirely the point, is trying to make it work in your real life and what that looks like for you, giving you that experience in your real life. So I hope that you guys will join me. And I hope that this is something that is helpful to start thinking about, especially because you're here. I know that you are interested in having a lifestyle that feels healthier, but we don't know what the other option is or what the other route to get there is. And so this is one of those ways. It's a great way to practice the other route to getting to a healthier life that feels doable and sustainable, and that it's very realistic and simple, and that can change so much. All right, you all, thank you for being here. I hope you guys will join us for that 5-day challenge to really put this to the test, and I'm going to be doing it too. It's always so much fun for me, and then you also get great ideas too from everybody else. Okay, be back here next week. I love you. Have a great week. If you enjoyed this episode and want more like it, make sure you're subscribed to the Simply Real Life podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and maybe share it with a friend or two. That would mean the world.